Good afternoon, and we do sincerely apologize for starting the program behind schedule. It's due to some technical issues which we are still battling with. My name is Judith Renoir. Still topping national discourse in Nigeria is the issue of the rampaging herdsmen in part of Benue, Taraba, and Adamawa State who have left scores of dead people in their wake. In Benue State on Thursday, residents of Makodi were thrown into mourning as 73 victims of the attacks were given a mass burial. In Taraba, the first set of about 30 persons, including women and children, were given mass burial at Katibu and Danada villages on Monday. Residents of Abari village in Lao local government area of Taraba State wept profusely as the community conducted another set of mass burial for 21 persons on Tuesday. Nigerians have been reacting, and the question is, how much can people take as these killings continue? We hear reports that these killings are still ongoing, and at the moment, government has swung into action, and we do hope an end will be in sight. We'll be discussing this on democracy and the rule of law. And also, INEC has registered, given certificates to 22 new political parties in Nigeria. And as it is now, we have 68 political parties in Nigeria. How long or how far will this go in strengthening our democratic process in the country? These are what we'll be taking a look at on the program today on democracy and the rule of law. And we have our legal practitioners as usual on the program who will be taking a look at these issues. Thank you, Barrister Tunde Kolawole, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Judith.
All right, I also have with me Barrister Benjamin Ode. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Judith.
And Barrister Yemi Omodele. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Good day, Nigerians.
All right, I just went through what took place in Benue and Taraba State on Monday and Tuesday, as well as Thursday, respectively, where quite a number of people were given mass burial following an attack on their communities by suspected herdsmen. And I asked this question: there's only so far a people can be pushed, or people can be pushed. What are your fears now, as the case may be, in Benue, Adamawa, and Taraba State?
Well, honestly speaking, when I looked at some of those pictures of the different attacks that took place in most of those communities, and also the number of corpses that I saw laid on the ground, especially on the day the people who were killed were going to be buried, I had a sleepless night. Because I can't imagine that in the 21st century and a modern day Nigeria, that this kind of horrendous killings will be taking place before our very eyes. And the question that came to my mind is, are we really sure that the Fulani herdsmen are behind this? And if they are, what is the motive for carrying out these attacks? Or could it be another form of insurgency? Another form of a jihadist movement, masquerading as a Fulani Jami, as a Fulani herdsman, so as to cause a kind of provoke respective communities to start fighting themselves and then divert attention from themselves, so issues, that the military or the security forces will now not be able to face them. Because I say this because I happen to come from Kwara State, where the Yorubas and the Kato Fulani live side by side. And I must tell you that in my own local community, we've been living side by side for more than 200 years. And I can't recollect of any single incident in which the Fulani took arms against their Yoruba hosts, or in which their Yoruba hosts took arms against their Fulani, the herdsmen settlers. So if this is happening at this period in time and all that, what could be responsible for it? 2-3 things I would want to say. One is lack of foresight on the part of the Nigerian leaders. 2 is insensitivity on the part of the security people. And I also think that the local community leaders have failed us in respect of managing their respective communities. Let's take, for example, planning. Times without number, especially even on this program, I've said it that the crisis between the herdsmen and the local farmers, their host community, is not a new thing. Even before Nigeria, before the colonial masters came, you will find out that the crisis that was described as the Fulani jihadists, in which the Fulani overthrew the Hausa monarchies in the northern parts of the country, was partly over the struggle for control of land, more importantly than even the struggle to Islamize the whole of northern Nigeria. And as soon as the jihadist movement succeeded in those places and other, one of the first things they did was the Fulani jihadists and demarcated certain places as reserves for them to be able to graze their cattle, to the exclusion of the Hausa farmers. And when the colonial masters came and other, these crises were also there up to the present time. If we were a nation that was proactive, that was responsive to the crisis, if we knew that land would not always be there because population will be growing and developmental growth will also be expanding, that land for grazing of animals and other will be reducing, we would have been planning. Just as we are planning to mechanize agriculture, we would have been planning also to mechanize or to modernize animal husbandry in this part of the world. But lo and behold, we close our eyes to those areas and other, and left the Fulani man to his own devices. And it is devices that we have led him to now that is the consequences of this, because it would appear to me, if it is true that is the Fulani jihadist that's behind it, that the Fulani man simply see himself as fighting for his own survival, just like the Palestinians and the Israelis are fighting for their survival. Because when you say, look, don't graze your animals in this social place or in these certain places and other, you are indirectly depriving the Fulani man his means of livelihood. And there is no person that's going to be deprived of his means of livelihood that will not want to fight for his own survival.
All right, just hold it there. Barrister Benjamin Odeyo from Benue State.
Yes.
He asked a question. Many Nigerians are asking that question. If it's indeed this heinous act is indeed perpetrated by suspected herdsmen, just give us a picture. I know you were there.
Judith, I think the question you have asked is very, very key as far as this issue is concerned. To say that, like my co-panelists have said, we have existed with this Fulani over the years. Okay. It's not today. At least I can remember that as a young person growing up, I had witnessed Fulanis come to our homes to rent rooms when they were coming into town to do their annual, I think, marriage celebrations. I had seen Fulani come to our community to rent houses. That is number one. Number two, I've also witnessed that Fulani, we've had relationship with Fulanis. I had an uncle who had a Fulani man that was very close to him. They were quite close. When I mean close, they were close. Now, it is shocking to wake up now to discover that this same Fulani that we are talking about are now carrying about sophisticated weapons, machetes, and all manner of weapons and killing people.
So what happened?
Now, the question is, what happened? Now, for example, in 2013, when this incident started in Benue State, especially when it started from the Agatu area of the Benue State, that's from the Idoma-speaking area of Benue State, there was a peace committee that was set up to investigate the root causes of all of this problem. Now, there was a statement that was made by the Agatu chief then that he was shocked when they met in Nasarawa or so to discover that the people he saw at the meeting, the faces he saw at the meeting, were not the usual and regular Hausa Fulanis that he used to know. That the only face he could recognize was one individual. That was one individual. So that goes down to the question you have asked. Are they really the regular Hausa Fulanis that we know? Or are there other Hausa Fulanis recruited by some unknown persons to carry out these heinous killings? Now, my fear is this. These questions you have asked me will shift this responsibility to our security agents to answer. So, to say that these killings are not going on is not true. If you go to Benue State as of today that I speak to you, there's tension everywhere. Tension everywhere. People are running. And you know when there are crises like this, the tendency for rumor mongering and all of that is high.
It's always rife.
And it's rife. And these things are going on. So, if these killings are being carried out by the Hausa Fulanis, the question is, who are these Hausa Fulanis and where do they come from? And who are those behind these Hausa Fulanis carrying out these killings? Those are the questions. You will watch, you know, the Secretary General of Miyetti Allah came on air. You see the audacity and the effrontery with which he was speaking on air. So the question is, the security agents has had to carry out the detailed investigation of all of these incidents. Now, between 2013 till 2018, not less than 47 attacks have been carried out in Benue. Now, 31 was carried out under the previous administration. 16 have been carried out between July 2015 and January 2018. So, like my brother here said, what is the responsibility of the government? Why has our government failed to protect lives and properties? That's the question.
All right, that's a $1 million question there. Now let's look at, you've given us a situation, a picture of communities, farming communities, coexisting peacefully with these herdsmen, and now we have reports of herdsmen attacking the local farming communities. Barrister Omodele, who do you think is to blame for all these killings going on in Adamawa, Taraba, and Benue State? Are you blaming the local, the state and the federal government, or the people, or security agencies generally, who haven't done enough intelligence gathering to actually unravel these killings and put a stop to it?
You see, when I saw those pictures in the social media and in the print, as a human being, I felt for the families concerned. The primary aim and focus of government is security and social welfare of its citizens. But looking at what transpired at Benue, Taraba State, and Adamawa, to me and my mind, it seems that the government of the day is lukewarm in taking actions in respect of the crisis. Because if we mention 2013 today, that is about 5 years. Now, a thing that has been on for about 5 years, I believe for a reasonable government, proactive measures, steps, ought to have been taken before now. Even before it resulted in killing fellow colleagues. Now, looking at it from one angle, we have the police there, we have the army, we have the navy, we have the air force, we have the civil defense, we have the DSS. Immediately this crisis was looming. I believe it is expected of the government of the day, particularly the federal government, who has the wherewithal and who is the controller general of all the security agencies, to have set up a panel or a committee to look into the looming crisis and find out what is the remote cause of this crisis. I believe such has not been done. And if it has been done, I'm not aware of it. Now, all these things were not done. And I believe, and I also suspect, that this crisis, there are some brains behind the crisis. They may be politicians, they may be businessmen. Because all these herdsmen, let's say, they are even the ones that commit the crime. They work for some persons. These persons they work for, they are not the poor people. They are not the common men in the society. These people they work for, they pay them salaries for what they do. Why did the government keep quiet without looking into the remote cause of it, fishing out the employers of these herdsmen? It was not done. And I guess the reason why the government refuses to do that is that if it is done, some of them in power are included.
All right, thank you, Barrister Yemi Modeli. Now, Governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, and other well-meaning Nigerians have joined voices and are calling on the federal government to declare this rampaging herdsmen a terrorist group. What difference would this make if they are declared a terrorist group? But first, let's look at that report there. I'll be right back. Just stay with us. Last time Governor Fayose met with local hunters in the state was in May 2016, when suspected herdsmen launched an attack on Okiako community in Ikole local government area of the state, killing 2 people and injuring several others. This time around, the governor, dressed in what looks like a military camouflage, is meeting with the hunters in the wake of the ongoing herdsmen attack in some parts of the country, particularly Benue, Adamawa and Taraba State. Before addressing the hunters, Fayose first sympathized with the people of Benue residing in the state, after which a 1-minute silence was observed in honor of victims of the herdsmen attack.
Declare now, Mr. President. Declare now, Mr. President. Declare now, Mr. President. Herdsmen as terrorist group. They are deadly and ghastly. They are mindless and ungodly. It doesn't matter what interest they represent and whose interest they represent. The good Lord of heaven will raise a standard against them. Amen. Ekiti is a no-go area. My state is a no-go area. If your plan is to make this state ungovernable ahead of the election, you are wasting your time.
The governor, while addressing the state's traditional hunters and vigilantes over the alleged planned invasion of the state by suspected herdsmen, charged them to secure the state with all their strength.
A mindless individual, yes, who I believe wants to wipe away a race, a people who are purely farmers, who are doing their own business peacefully. This is not the dream of the founding fathers of Nigeria. This is not the prayers of the founding fathers of Nigeria. The blood of the departed will find out these people. Yeah. They shall know no peace. Yeah. I said it severally. It is the duty of the leadership and the leaders to protect their own. Yes. The federal government must protect Nigeria. Yeah. This is not a mere matter. The federal government must protect Nigeria. Yes. We are not protected.
Secretary, Ekiti Traditional Hunters, Adamolekun Olubumi, expressed delight in the actions of the governor and assured residents of their safety.
We are preparing much for our people because they are much precious to us than anything. So our life is more precious than that of cows. So we have every right to even prepare us and make ourselves available, fully ready, and protect the people and the integrity of the people of Ekiti State.
Thousands have so far been killed and many more expelled from their homes as a result of suspected herdsmen attack in Nigeria. You're welcome back, and you're still watching Democracy and the Rule of Law. And that report you just saw there was Governor Ayodele Fayose of Ekiti State on Tuesday when he met with local vigilantes and hunters in Ekiti State. And there he called on the federal government to declare the herdsmen a terrorist group. And I asked before we went to see that report, what difference would it make? First, let me ask you, do you agree that this herdsmen be declared a terrorist group? And if yes, if you agree with me, if you agree with the governor of Ekiti State, what difference will it make?
Yeah, honestly speaking, I think Ayodele Fayose is speaking out of ignorance. And his action is treasonable. It is also an incitement to genocide. Right. And I will advise the hunters in Ekiti State not to heed the counsel or advice of Ayodele Fayose. Let me say it without mincing words, that it doesn't make any difference whether you declare these people terrorists or murderers or criminals or what have you. There are ample provisions in our law books to take care of those who take other people's life unlawfully, those who inflict grievous bodily harms on other people without justification. And let me say this, when you declare them terrorists, you are even helping those herdsmen, because the punishment for terrorism and for murder and the kind of criminality that we see arson, that we see some of these herdsmen committed, the punishment, it's remarkably different. When they are declared to be terrorists and other, if they are arrested and prosecuted, it only carries a life imprisonment. But if these people are arrested, tried and convicted and ordered for murder, and things like grievous bodily harm, it's a capital punishment. So that is why you find that most of the Boko Haram people now who have been tried and ordered, they are just in Kuje prison, enjoying themselves there. Haven't soiled their hands with with innocent people's blood. So I would want to strongly advise that it is not necessary. It doesn't make any difference. Whether you describe these people as terrorists or you describe them as murderers. What is important is for the security, is for the government to have the political will to really be able to apprehend those who are behind this criminality and prosecute them under extant Nigerian laws. Right. And I will want to say that the most adequate punishment for these people will be capital punishment, right, and not life imprisonment that you will find under the Terrorism Prevention Act of the Federation.
All right, thank you, Barrister Kolawole. Barrister Benjamin, what's your take?
Well, I think I'm going to disagree with my friend here.
All right, very well.
Because, you see, what the herdsmen, the acts of the herdsmen so far, since they began this onslaught, cannot be compared to what the IPOB, that's the Independent Peoples of Biafra, that's IPOB, you know, what IPOB represents in the Southeast. Yet the federal government went ahead and declared them a terrorist organization. That is number one. Investigations have also revealed that these people, at a point, more particularly, when these people were attacking the Agatu people, then there were reports that some helicopters were bringing arms to them. So the question is, where did these helicopters come from? Who gave them? Who sponsored them? That is the question. It then means that there are people behind these people. And like my learned friend here said, if the government cannot deal with them, cannot arrest them and prosecute them, then, I mean, what can the government do? The best thing the government should do is to declare them a terrorist organization.
Meanwhile, the government has not said they cannot deal with them.
Yeah, but it's obvious. It's not as if the government cannot deal with them.
Okay.
It is obvious that the government, there are people who are directly or indirectly connected to the government who are sponsoring these people. That is the issue. And that is why the government cannot deal with them. He used the word, he said, if the government will have the political will to handle them. But the question is, does this government have the political will? That is number one. Then number two, does even this government have the political will to declare the Miyetti Allah or what do you call their name? The Fulani Herdsmen, the terrorist organization? Does this government have the political will? That is the next question you should ask. And if this government does not have the political will to declare the Fulani Herdsmen a terrorist organization, then it means there are problems.
Then what difference would it make if the government goes ahead to declare the Herdsmen a terrorist group? What difference would it make?
Then the question is simple. It's simple. If the government does not, the government, even if they declare them, the question is that if the government should declare them a terrorist organization, it's simple. The issue is anybody that is caught with arms, any of the Fulani herdsmen that is arrested should be handled as a terrorist. And that is, and it will send jitters, it will send message to other herdsmen, marauding herdsmen, who are still on their trail of destruction of lives and properties. You know, and it will go a long way.
All right, let's go back to Ekiti State, where the state governor Ayodele Fayose has placed local hunters and vigilante and other local security apparatus on red alert to combat any attack by suspected Fulani herdsmen. Do you see this as a governor who is concerned about the security and well-being of his people, or otherwise?
Well, as far as Ekiti State is concerned, Fayose is the #1 person there. Is the chief security officer of that state. And in Yoruba land, they say, now, that means a stitch in time saves nine.
All right.
Now, what Fayose has done was to put his people on red alert that, come, certain things are happening in Benue, Taraba, Adamawa. Ekiti State is part of Nigeria. You people be alert. For him to have declared or to have said that the herdsmen are terrorists, he would have sought for some advice from his maybe personal assistants, maybe special advisors, maybe consultants, before such a meeting was even called. That step he took, I believe such a step should have even been taken by the federal government before now, which I believe it has not been done. And if it has been done, it was done lately. Now, the step taken by the governor, Fauci, I believe there is nothing wrong about it. There is nothing wrong. It's just to say that, my people, I am more concerned about your security. That was what the man has done. Now, if somebody can be so bold, carry cutlass, maybe big knife, gun, and terminate the life of his fellow human being, what offense can be more heinous than that? It is a grave offense. And this is not just one person, not two, not three. I could see, was it 73 human beings at a stretch being given mass burial? What about if it were in that 73, what about if a whole family is involved? That means the family is perished. If somebody can perish a family, such a person can be declared as a terrorist. Now, the word terrorism does not mean merely threat. It includes person who kill, person who intend to kill, person who threatens. So now, for the government to have come out and said, federal government, please declare these people as terrorists. The federal government came up some time ago and declared some group as terrorist group. This will not be different from that. And what those ones they've even done is minute to what is happening now in Benue, Taraba, and Adamawa. And look at it now. If these people are not curtailed, it may extend to other states. And if that happens, then what do you think will happen? It will lead to a great crisis that may not be easily managed by the government. So, but to manage it now, the government, the federal government in particular, should sit down, call the chief security officers or into order, advise them. The federal government should seek advice from good advisors. Some of the advisors of the government of the day, they are not giving the proper advice. They are giving wrong advice. And that is what is leading to this crisis. When you give a wrong advice, the person you advise behaves wrongly. That is what is leading to it. When you give an advice, Your Excellency, do it this way, do it this way. If you do this way, this one goes to prison, this one goes to jail. This the person who has intention of doing it will run away. Do it this way, and you take such a step. But when say, Excellency, don't bother yourself. They are brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, and you are killing yourselves. It's embarrassing. The problem of Nasarawa, Taraba, Adamawa, it is not only for those states. It is a national problem. It could be visited on any state.
All right. All right, thank you. You're still watching Democracy and the Rule of Law, and we're discussing the issue of the herdsmen and the killings which they have left in their wake in Benue, Taraba, and Adamawa State. Now let's talk about some issues which came up during the week, still in line with this herdsman killing. The Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, on Wednesday apologized to the people of Benue over his comments on Friday the 5th when he described the killing as a fallout of a communal crisis, and he has vowed now to fish out the perpetrators and get them prosecuted. But the people of Benue State are not having this. They are calling for the deployment of the military to the state, saying the police cannot quell the whole situation. First, let's take that of the Inspector General of Police owning up to his mistake, owning up to the mix-up, saying, I got it wrong in the first instance. What do you think of this?
He did, absolutely. In fact, when I read his comment that it was a communal class, I was shocked, given the magnitude of what is happening in those states and all that. One would not expect the Inspector General of Police to say it was a mere communal clash. And you see, it's a smart comment, it's a sign of irresponsibility. It's when people are shadowed with a very, very serious responsibility, want to shirk that responsibility, that they begin to hide under semantics and then cliches that are neither here nor there. But you see, the Inspector of Police also got the drubbing of his life when he got to Benue State. All the leaders in there, the community here, the chiefs and all that, they spoke their mind without mincing or without any fear. And they put the Inspector of Police where he belongs. You see, I'm going to recount a story today which might throw some enlightenment into what is happening in those places. And they also make reference to what General Abacha said when he was military head of state. He said, where a communal crisis or where some of these local calamities last for so long, that the government of the day should be held responsible. And if we throw our minds back to what we witnessed when there was crisis between the Ife and Modakeke people, you will realize that in most times, it is when the security people fail to discharge their responsibility that crises such as this one persist. For example, during the Modakeke crisis, my wife happens to come from Modakeke, and then because of that I was concerned, I was involved. We wanted to find solution and peace in those places. So we were meeting the different communities. And some of the findings we were doing and we discovered. When the Ifes want to go and attack the Modakeke people, they will bribe the security people, the police, the soldier, the DSS and all that to turn a blind eye when they are going to invade the Modakeke community. When the Modakeke community also want to attack the Ife people, they will also go and liaise with the security people. They will do the same thing. And when all these people also want to go and purchase arms and ammunition, we even find out that the security people were selling the arms and ammunition to the different communities of those places to kill themselves. They turn it to just an opportunity to make money. So, just like Barrister Omadele just said, a crisis that has persisted for more than 5 years. And you have the director of DSS in all those states. You have the commissioners of police in those states. You have the commander of civil defense. You have the NIA, Nigerian Intelligence Agency, and all sorts of agencies in all those places. Until now, for more than 5 years, they have not been able to put their finger as to the root cause of all this and the people behind who are sponsoring this thing, and where the arms and ammunition, which even the people are fighting, are coming from. And that an helicopter will also even come and drop an ammunition to the people on the battlefield. And then the Nigeria Aerospace Agency and then the Air Force and all that will not be able to decipher and unravel where that aircraft came from. We smell a rat. So I want to say that the Inspector General of Police, I agree with the local community. I think we are going to find solution to this. We cannot rely on the different, the sets of security men that we have on ground, especially the head of the security men that we have on ground on those places. If the presidency would have the political will, the immediate thing to do would be to redeploy all the commissioners of police in those places, the director of state security service, the civil defense, the commandant of all the military formations and all that, and bring in neutral people. People who have the fear of God, who are not interested in making money, and people who know that human lives, whether killed in Benue, in Taraba and all that, will also affect somebody in Lagos, because you never know. Some people will just be traveling and then they will just, the victim get caught in the crisis that is happening in some of those places. So for these reasons and all that, I would want to say, I agree with the local community that there is the need to really move all the security people in those places. And then the local community themselves must know, while I'm not encouraging self-help, I will want to say vigilance is very, very important in some of this things. You can set up your local village. They can even begin to gather intelligence report themselves and then begin to make it, supply this thing to them. Look at what happened in River State and all that. When the Don Valley Corps became full, the people in the local communities, gathered intelligence on their own and then made it available to the security forces and who moved in. Even in that incident too, are we saying that security people in those places didn't know when Don Valley was building all those mansions he was building? And where he was getting all those weapons with, he was terrorizing the local community. So we have a problem in our hand. Not just that of political will, but of security people turning a blind eye to a very, very serious crisis situation simply because they just want to profit from those crises.
All right. 2 mobile policemen were last week killed in Benue State, and this begs the question: if policemen can be killed and their weapons taken away, how secured are the people
Thank you very much. You see, policemen are also human beings,
yes,
like you and I. That is number one. Then number two, you see, the biggest problem we have now is the politicization of the security problems that we have in Nigeria. It has been so politicized that getting to the root cause of the problems is not even the target of our security agents any longer. What they do, and of course that is the main reason why the IG made that first statement he made, that he went to Benue State to apologize to Benue people. Because the intelligence gathering, core intelligence reporting, investigation is usually not carried out. And of course, you know that where there is no proper diagnosis, you cannot effect any proper cure. You understand? So, now that a policemen are killed in a crisis or during crisis like this, it does happen. That is number one. But number two, what happens in a situation like ours today, where we have, let me say this, all the security chiefs are all Hausa Fulanis. They are the chief of army staff, except with the exception of the chief of army staff, the chief of air staff, the IG, and all of that. So tell me, if the issue on ground now that has to do with Hausa Fulani herdsmen clashing regularly with farmers, local farmers, will receive a proactive and effective response from our security agents. Tell me. Now, when people bring issues like this, Nigerian government tends to politicize it and say, look, these are political detractors and all of that, making this statement. Number one, look at it. When these incidents happen, first and foremost, the January 1st, 2018 crisis massacre took place. What did the government say? They quickly passed the buck to the former president. Then, later on, they now moved it back to the current government. And from there, they now moved it back to another political aspirant. So they have politicized it. Now, tackling the issue becomes a problem.
Difficult.
It becomes difficult. Because, and now let me also tell you, if the Mieti Allah that came on air to expose and to even openly support the massacre in Benue State, they did not hide the fact that it is over. They still, the anger, because their anger is against the Benue State anti-open grazing lobby and the grazing law. That is their anger. Now, the fact that the government have decided to curtail their movement from encroaching on the lands of the Benue farmers is what their anger lies. Now, on several occasions, the Secretary General of Mieti Allah came on air to accuse the governor of Benue State openly and call him names. The Secretary General, this is a body that is not secret. This is a body that is open. Why up till now? Why has this government, the security agent, the head of DSS, the Nigerian chief of army staff, the inspector general of police is going to Benue State? You think that going to Benue State will resolve the problem? It cannot solve the problem. This quick fix approach cannot solve the problem. Until they go to the root, investigate, do the needful, you can be rest assured that this quick fix approach will boomerang.
All right, that's a very passionate one coming from Barrister Benjamin Ode, and it's not unexpected because he's from that area, and he experienced, he had a first-hand experience of this herdsmen. All right, now to Barrister Modeli. At a meeting between the Minister of Interior, General Abdulrahman Dambazo, 5 state governors and security chiefs, the Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogwe, said that the federal government has not done enough to cater for the needs of the herdsmen. And now the federal government, during the last Federal Executive Council meeting, says it will respect provisions of the Land Use Act in its quest to establish colonies for animal grazing in Nigeria. The federal government is seeing this as a step to end these incessant clashes between herdsmen and local farming communities. Now the question is, will the establishment of colonies by the federal government, will it nip this issue in the bud?
Well, you see, the Land Use Act on its own has its problem. When that law came into being during the then government of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the aim of that law was to checkmate the issue of a land crisis. And as of today, the issue of land dispute is more higher than before that law was made. Now, the issue of whether colony or regional
Or
ranches or whatever name it may be given to it, that may not be the solution.
Okay.
On the basis that the remote cause of this problem must be fished out before
the immediate cause.
Before, yes,
tackling the immediate cause.
Before you can talk of solution. Now, it's like a medical doctor who is giving a solution without diagnosis. You will merely hear a story that the man developed, I'm feeling cold, I can't eat very well, I can't walk very well. You just okay, give him maybe an energy injection. Give him, that may not cure the illness. But if there is blood sample taking, proper test is done, the illness may be as from, or maybe from other diseases. Now, it's like the federal government, instead of the federal government to start climbing the tree from the ground, from the bottom, they are climbing it from the leaf. Now, they are talking of colony or ranches. They are not talking of these herdsmen, these farmers. What is the problem between the two of you? Then if the problem is fished out, then how do we resolve these problems? Then solutions will be provided. But somebody just sat down in an office in Abuja there with 2 or 3 personnel. They just say, okay, let's us go there and say colony. You not say colony that you are following the land use act to latter. The land use act that is defective on its own, that is causing more problem. You are now using that land use act to say you want to create colony. Colony where? For who?
Oh, yes.
To create more problem.
So you're not saying.
So when you want to create the colony now, you just go to my father's house and say you want to use for your colonization to colonize who? So you see, I've said it before. I said the government of the day in this country does not have good advisors. They give advice that favor their family and themselves. They don't give advice that favor we, the commoners.
So you feel the stakeholders in this crisis, the farmers and the herdsmen, need to
be carried along.
Yes.
They need to be carried along, not merely calling them to Abuja.
Okay.
You need to visit where they are. Where does this farming take place? Where does the what they call grazing take place? Visit there, take report. We call it feed report. It is the feed report that you now follow, not paper report. Okay. Somebody sat in an office in Lagos here, wrote fine grammar and forwarded it to you in Abuja. You just write, say now, you just say approved. Approved what? Do you want to approve for somebody who is in Topo, very close to Badagry, in Abuja, without visiting the place? Do you know how the land there is? Do you know whether the old land there is waterlogged? You now want to give their land to be for your colonization or colony? It is funny. It is strange. It is unacceptable. It may not work.
Right. Verse Kolawole, this issue of establishment of colonies. Do you see this as a lasting solution to the herdsmen farmers clash? And also what the Minister of Agriculture said, that we have not done enough. Have we really, I want you to even talk about that before you go to the issue of establishment of colonies. Have we done enough as a country? Have we done enough for the herdsmen?
Absolutely. In fact, I must say what Mr. Omadele is saying. We know what the problem is. The problem is that, like in all societies, we are faced with desertification. We are also faced with expanding population. We also faced with urbanization, such that land that used to be available for both the farmers to use and then for the herdsmen to use continue to dwindle on a daily basis. Take a place like Lagos. There is no more land in Lagos. Most people want to build houses now, go to Ogun State to build land. In fact, in places like Ilupeju now, people are selling the roof of their houses, and then somebody will take in it and then buy that and then build his own house there. And it will continue to be like that. Ditto, that is what we have in some of these places and all that. So if issues are like this, what are we expected to do? If we were proactive as a nation, we would have known that sooner than later there's going to be shortage of land. And what we would have done, like we're doing for agriculture, the ordinary agriculture, we preach about mechanization, we do irrigation and all that. We would also have been educating the cattle Fulani to begin to engage in modern animal husbandry. And what would this modern animal husbandry be? That will be cattle ranching. Colonizing colony will not even be the case, because if you say colony, animals will still wander from place to place. Yeah. And then that will also be in common with the Land Use Act and then with the people, the original owners of those places. They will not be happy with it. In fact, when I do, another really brilliant person came out with the word colony, I was shocked, because what immediately came to my mind was a leper colony, such that you have along Benin or a road. And the leper colony is not a site to behold. So, after said that we need to really educate the herdsmen on modern animal husbandry and all that, we also have a responsibility too regarding their children, because when these old men drop off, their children will follow. We have abandoned the children of the herdsmen for too long. We don't give them education, they don't go to school. We allow them to wander from Maiduguri to Calabar. They wander from Port Harcourt to places like Sokoto and all that. When people talk, I just open my mouth, I wonder, who tells the ordinary Southerner or even the ordinary airline that the Fulani children enjoy trekking from Kano to Port Harcourt? When they see you drive with your Jeep car and then all that, who tells you that they also don't want to live that kind of very good life? We have left them behind as a people, and I think the northern airlines are mostly responsible for this. While, for example, in the western part of the country and the south, we talk about free education, we are building more universities, we are building more schools, we are expanding access to education and all. You don't see that kind of effort being made in another part of the country. Rather, the airlines would rather want to keep their people that they don't want them educated, so that they will continue to lord themselves over these people for a very long time to come. It is the consequences that we are seeing today that is leading to all this conflict. If we had knew that we needed to make provisions for the herdsmen, just like we are making for the farmers, the ordinary farmers and all that, we won't have this crisis. And there is this argument that people bring up. They say, cattle ranching or rearing of animals is a private business.
Yeah, that why
it needed no subvention. You see, that is wrong.
Okay.
Why is it wrong? On a yearly basis, look at the huge sums of money that the CBN and most of these commercial banks set aside to assist farmers. Is that not subvention? Look at the kind of subvention that we give to things like fertilizers and all that. Why are we not going to do the same? Look at the amount of money that we pop into Hajj, that we wish to subsidize people going to Mecca and going to Jerusalem. So if we put all these subsidies in some of these things and all that, why can't we also assist the herdsmen to really embrace modern animal farming? And you see, the advantages are so many. If I would want to say, most of the governors in the Southwest who are making, or some of the governors that are making this anti-grazing, or they are missing the point. I would rather even want to invite the cattle Fulani to my own community and settle them down, especially at the local government level, and then encourages them to embrace modern animal husbandry. And it is not too difficult. It's the responsibility of the local government and humble opinion. And what we needed to do is to put forward a kind of, just like get the local community together, either in forms of cooperative or a kind of investment forum, in which you are going to bring agricultural experts, you are going to bring the bankers, you are going to bring advisors from the ministries of agriculture and all that, to look at what does it take to really start a cattle ranch. What is going to be the design of the cattle ranch? What are the amenities that you need in there? What quantum of money or resources do you need to put into it for you to be able to establish this cattle ranch? And developmental experts, accountants and agriculturists will give you a prototype of not just the environment you need, the amount of money that you require and all that, and what you also need to do to go about some of this. Because when you are doing this, you are going to be building artificial dams. That costs a lot of money. The ordinary Fulani man may not be able to afford that. You will need to build boreholes, which is going to be powered with electricity. The ordinary Fulani man may not be able to do that. You may sometimes even need to encourage farmers to stop planting cassava and maize, but to be planting feed fodders, things that the cattle will eat, and then begin to sell to the Fulani person. Because when you have all these things and all that, and then you settle the Fulani, the advantages are so many. You can engage in meat canning. Leather is there for making leather products and all that. There is dairy products that you can get from some of those places and all that. And then the farmers, too, if they are encouraged to begin to produce things that will feed these animals and all that, the farmers also get engaged and all that. So this is the kind of holistic and integrated approach that we need to make, that we should be looking at, not first and foremost enacting the anti-grazing law. The anti-grazing law is like putting the cart before the horse.
All right.
You are shutting the cattle animal from his means of livelihood. And it's like you are beating the child and asking him not to cry.
All right.
How is that feasible?
Okay. Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State has said there is no going back on the implementation of the anti-open grazing law in the state, and he also challenged anyone with a better alternative to ranching to come forward and put it on the table. What do you make of this?
Thank you. You see, we all know that once a law has been made, it becomes a law. And the next thing is the political will to implement the law. And I think that is part of what brought out the last incident. Let me add a little bit to what my friend has said. You see, like Governor Ortom said, if anybody has a better option to ranching, it should come forward. Before this bill was passed into law, there was a period of grace that was given.
A 6 months window. Yeah.
Now, I personally was not at any of the public hearing. And the Mieti Allah, you know, one of their grounds was that they were not part, they were not carried along, they were not involved. You understand? Now, you know that every public hearing that took place was a public hearing. They knew about this hearing. That is number one. Number two, let me go back a little bit. When my friend said that the best option is ranching, I think he agreed with us. Sure. That the best option would be ranching. Now, I think that the Hausa Fulani herdsmen are not interested in this ranching. Even from their national body. You know, they have a national body and they have branches all over Nigeria. And you know that it's typical with them. Once they give instruction from the center, and it goes down to all the branches. And even if with the best of intention, any state government would want to cooperate with the herdsmen within its locality to help them ranch, that if once the national body is not in support, nothing will happen. That is one. Two, we also have a system, you know, the system of governance in this country where if a state government has taken a step towards a very productive, taking a productive step to resolving an issue, the government would not support. Now, this government, the federal government, was supposed to support the state government to implement this law, now encourage the herdsmen to cooperate with the local vigilante that was set up to implement this law. They failed to do that. Now, the governor has the mandate of the people. He was elected by the people. That is one. Two, this law was not made by the governor. It was made by the Benue State House of Assembly. Now, this law passed through a process and it has become a law. The governor will be right to say there's no going back. No individual, no single individual. For example, if they want to ranch, if they want to graze, let them go to Sambisa Forest and graze. If they are looking for an open space where they can have impunity and whatever to do whatever they want to do, the governor has said it. The governor represents the people of the state. They have spoken. They wanted the law. Now, Equity State, Governor Ayofayo came out and he said it openly. He told the people, he said, don't come here if you cannot follow the law. And that should be the right step. Taraba State is setting up the same law. If there are options, this like we all chorus here, if there is a better option, since 5 years, we don't have any responsible government that could come forward to say, this is the best way to resolve this issue. None of them has ever said anything. And now these people, if let me also remind you that if there were no clashes and lives were not lost, properties were not destroyed, what billions of naira would the governor encourage the House of Assembly pass the law? The law was passed to prevent certain acts, and there are people who are determined not to obey the law. And because what happens within the Nigerian political space, some people regard themselves as being above the law, and that is what is happening in Nigeria today. Situation where some people carry arms to go and kill innocent people, and the security agents will look the other way. This is the problem.
All right, and to quickly wrap up this discussion, all right.
Most of those anti-grazing laws, I've read them. Honestly, I think they are born out of malice. And what is behind most of them is this indigenous protection of land. And so long as we continue to approach this crisis regarding that the Fulanis are non-indigenous, and then maybe the Biron people are the one who owns the land, you are never going to find a solution.
All right, before we wrap up this particular discussion, quickly, Barrister Modley, your last words.
Well, I only sympathize with the families concerned, particularly in Benue, Taraba, and Adamawa states, who lost their relation. I would rather advise the government of the day, particularly the federal government, to do what we call restructuring and rebranding of the service chiefs, so as to put a lasting solution to the lingering problem, or else it may lead to a further crisis.
All right, that's why I said in my introduction